Hello and welcome to episode 154 of First Things Productivity. I'm your host, Dr. Brandon Vaughn, and as always, it's a pleasure to embark on another journey of health and wellness and productivity with all of you. In our previous episodes, we delved into various strategies to enhance our sleep. This is all based upon the book Sleep Smarter by Sean Stevenson. We are starting to understand sleep's profound impact on our overall health. Today, we're going to shift our focus to a beloved ritual for many of us. In fact, I just participated in this ritual a few minutes ago. It is our caffeine consumption. Specifically, we're going to explore the need for a caffeine curfew and how it can dramatically improve your sleep quality. If that sounds of interest to you, go grab your cup of coffee and pull up a chair and let's get into it today. Welcome to First Things Productivity, the podcast where your journey to freedom meets focus. Here, we're not just chasing efficiency or a vague notion of success, we're embracing the transformative power of true productivity. I'm your guide, Dr. Brandon Vaughn, and every week, we'll delve into innovative strategies to master our schedules, amplify our output, and carve out space for what's genuinely important. Bid farewell to the tyranny of the to-do list and join me on a quest for a life that's more focused and fulfilling. Are you ready to zero in on what matters most? Well, let's dive in together. Well, we all cherish that morning cup of coffee or tea, the aroma, the warmth, the immediate jolt of energy, which I don't know scientifically is true. I think technically it's all in our heads. I think it does affect us, but I think it's like a 30-minute window, especially for coffee, before it starts affecting us. And anytime we think it does, I think it's mostly in our head when we drink it first thing. But anyway, caffeine is the most widely used psychoactive substance in the world, and for good reason. I mean, it boosts our alertness, makes the morning seem a little less daunting. Now, yes, you'll hear studies one week saying it's not good for you, and then another week saying, yeah, it's okay. But by and large, most scientific evidence seems to suggest that coffee or tea are really good for us. Good for our hearts, good for our health. We just don't want to overdo it, and we want to be very careful about when we do it so that it doesn't affect our sleep. Because when we consume it later in the day, caffeine can be a silent disruptor of our sleep. So today we're going to dive into understanding this powerful compound and how we can enjoy it responsibly to ensure that it doesn't steal away our precious sleep. Now let's understand caffeine. Caffeine is a natural stimulant, most often found in coffee or tea or cocoa type of plants. It works by stimulating the brain and the central nervous system. Helps us stay alert, prevents the onset of tiredness. Now, that sounds fantastic, right? Well, it is, but there's more to this story. You see, when you drink a cup of coffee, the caffeine is absorbed into your bloodstream and it travels to your brain where it blocks the inhibitory neurotransmitter adenosine, if I pronounce that right. Now, by blocking adenosine, caffeine increases the firing of neurons and the release of other neurotransmitters like dopamine. Now, this reaction not only keeps you awake, but it's also going to improve your mood, your reaction time, your memory, and general mental functions in general. However, caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours, which means that after 5 to 6 hours, only half of the caffeine has left your system. So let's do some math. If you drink a cup of coffee at 4 p.m., then we're saying by 10 p.m., half of that caffeine is still in your body. This can significantly impact your ability to fall asleep and the quality of sleep that you want to achieve. Moreover, everyone metabolizes caffeine differently due to factors like how old you are, or your medical condition, or even maybe genetics. Some can have a late espresso and drift off without a hitch, while others might find themselves wide-eyed from a late afternoon latte. Now, understanding your body's response to caffeine is crucial in managing its impact on your sleep. A friend that I work with recently, I encountered this. I love having a coffee late. I love watching these movies and TVs where people are having dinner in the 60s and they're serving coffee at night. But for me, if I have a coffee late, as much as I love it, I will suddenly perk up around 10 or 11 o'clock at night, have a really hard time falling asleep. This friend of mine, he has no impact. He can drink 2 cups of coffee, an hour, 2 hours before bed, and basically can go straight to sleep. Now, even so, I do wonder, does that caffeine affect the depth of his sleep, his REM cycles, or other things like that? Who knows without studying it? So even though this person can drift off to sleep, doesn't mean that the caffeine isn't still affecting them in some way. For me, it gives me insomnia really bad, as much as I love it. So you should reflect on your caffeine habits. How does your body typically respond to caffeine? And at what times of the day do you usually consume it? Now, we want to delve a little bit deeper in how caffeine specifically interacts with our sleep and why a caffeine curfew might just be the game changer that you need for a better night's rest. It's vital for us to recognize just how intertwined caffeine and sleep are. Imagine caffeine as that rambunctious party guest who refuses to leave. They're like the relative that you have over on Thanksgiving or Christmas that you're like, man, are they ever going to leave? This is what caffeine is like. I mean, even when your body is ready to wind down and rest, they refuse to leave. This is what happens when caffeine overstays its welcome in our system. Caffeine has a profound effect on our sleep because it directly interferes with a fundamental biological process. You see, as the sun sets and darkness envelops us, your body naturally produces that hormone melatonin. We talked about this in previous weeks, signaling that it's time to sleep. However, caffeine disrupts this natural rhythm by blocking adenosine, if I can even pronounce these medical words today. Adenosine, I believe, is right. You medical people are going to blast me and say, no, that's not right. But they block these adenosine receptors, which are going to lead to decreased drowsiness and a delay in the sleep cycle. In essence, your body is going to be receiving mixed signals. Melatonin is telling your body to wind down, and the caffeine is going to be screaming to stay awake. And furthermore, the quality of sleep that you do manage to get after consuming caffeine can be significantly impacted. I hinted at this earlier, but there are actual studies that have shown that caffeine reduces REM sleep, which is the stage that is associated with deep restorative sleep and dreaming. You might be clocking in 8 hours of shut-eye, but waking up feeling like you've barely rested. This is the deceptive nature of caffeine's impact on our sleep. So if you feel like you're getting enough hours of sleep, but you wake up feeling exhausted, this might be the reason that you want to look into your life. It could be that the caffeine in your system is not allowing you to achieve these REM sleep cycles, your deep sleep cycles. You're not in them as long as you should be. And therefore, you wake up feeling exhausted, even though you had a lot of sleep in terms of hours, something to look at. So, how do we reconcile our love for caffeine with our need for restful sleep? Well, the answer lies in what I believe the book calls, and I like to call this, the caffeine curfew. Now, just as parents set curfews for their teenagers to ensure they're home safe before it gets too late, setting a caffeine curfew means deciding on a time in the day after which you will not consume caffeine. This allows enough time for the caffeine to work its way out of your system before bedtime. The ideal time for this caffeine curfew is going to vary from person to person. I'm sorry, I wish I could just say it's always by 4 p.m. or 2 p.m. in your day. But it depends on a great deal of who you are as a person and your genetics and your health. But a good rule of thumb that you can hold to, if you must have a rule of thumb, you're always better experimenting. You're always better journaling and doing this for a couple of weeks and seeing how you feel and write it down and try different things. But if you're lazy or you don't want to do that or you don't have enough time to do that, here's a good rule of thumb. To avoid caffeine at least 6 hours before bed. So if you typically go to sleep, let's say at 10 p.m., then you should try to have your last caffeinated beverage by 4 p.m. Now, due to the half-life that we talked about earlier in caffeine, I would probably say even 7 to 8 hours is even better because then you're reducing it more. So that would mean that for most of us, if we go to bed at 10, that we want to quit drinking caffeine by 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon, no later than 4. So this time frame will give your body the chance to process and eliminate not all, but the majority of the caffeine, which will allow your natural sleep cycle to take the lead when you get closer to bed. Now, implementing a caffeine curfew doesn't mean that you can't enjoy your favorite beverages. It just means that you're going to enjoy them responsibly and in harmony with your body's natural rhythms. Yes, you can still relish a morning cup of coffee or an afternoon tea, early afternoon tea. It's the late afternoon and the evening indulgences that we need to reconsider. Now, like I said, even if you can drink a coffee at 9 p.m. at night and fall asleep by 10, I would say don't do that. Even if you're able to go to sleep, I believe there's enough scientific evidence to say that your depth of sleep, your REM cycle sleep, is still being affected. Quit doing that. Start limiting your caffeine to hopefully 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon if you go to bed at 10. Now, if you go to bed at 11 or midnight, well, probably shouldn't go to bed that late if you're getting up at 6 or 7 in the morning, but you can adjust the time frame around this. So don't feel locked in. These are, again, rules of thumb. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Well, all right, Brandon, my late day caffeine doesn't affect me at all. I can fall asleep just fine. While you may believe that it isn't affecting you, it's likely, like I said earlier, is probably impacting the quality of your rest without you knowing it. We said this earlier, and I've encountered this where I'm like, I've got 8 hours of sleep and I feel like I've gotten 1 hour sleep. I feel exhausted. I think this is part of the reason why. The only way to truly know is to try a caffeine curfew for yourself. See how you feel in the mornings. What are your energy levels like? What's your overall mood? Many are surprised by the significant positive change that they experience. Now, of course, you could just get off all caffeine, and maybe there's some merit for that. I've certainly seen some people that will push that. And yes, I think there are some legitimate reasons why you might want to give up on caffeine. Many, many ways. In fact, I was studying the doctor recently for Kali Ripa and looking at the products they serve, which I've never tried, talking about reducing some of the acidity in coffee by putting in some substance into it, some supplements into it. And I want to study that a little bit because, yes, there's probably other reasons. I mean, there's some health benefits, but there's also probably negative benefits to your digestive system and other things like that. Yeah, that's probably true. But at the same time, if you don't get off caffeine together, you need to look into modifying or regulating when you do this. I want to challenge you to start thinking about this. When will your caffeine curfew be? How will you adjust your routines to accommodate this change? Remember, the goal is not to deprive yourself of what you love, but to enhance the quality of your sleep and, by extension, the quality of your life. So hopefully you're now aware of the significant impact that caffeine can have on your sleep, and you understand the importance of a caffeine curfew. But how do we put this into practice? Well, let's explore some practical strategies as we start to wrap up this episode today. First, start by gradually shifting your caffeine consumption earlier. So if your last cup is usually at 6 p.m., try it at 5 p.m. instead, or 4 p.m. Slowly, after a few days or weeks, then move this time earlier until you reach your desired curfew. So this gradual shift is going to help your body adapt without the abrupt change that could trigger withdrawal symptoms like headaches or irritability. Next, you should become a label detective. Caffeine isn't just in coffee or tea, it's also in sodas. It's in certain medications, and even in some types of chocolate. So be mindful of what you are consuming, especially in the latter part of your day. Another effective strategy is to find some alternative beverages that you can enjoy, such as herbal tea, such as chamomile or peppermint. These are great options that you can drink that not only are they caffeine-free, but they also have some properties that can even enhance relaxation and prepare you for sleep. You might also consider the environment and rituals around your caffeine consumption. So many of us, for example, drink coffee or tea as a break, a moment of peace and tranquility in our busy, busy days, that we can just sit back and relax, hear the crickets chirp. You know what I'm talking about. So you should replace this ritual with something equally soothing but more sleep-friendly. Perhaps a short walk, perhaps a moment of meditation, or even a different warm caffeine-free drink. Maybe you can go get the new Apple Vision Pro and stare up at the stars and do a meditation or something. Do something, though. So you set a caffeine curfew and you're employing some strategies to stick to it. But what can you expect? Well, let's talk about some of the benefits you're likely to experience. First and foremost, you might see some improved sleep quality. Now, this isn't just about getting more sleep, as we were talking about earlier. It's about getting better, deeper, more restorative sleep. So when you get into a habit of limiting your caffeine, many people report a noticeable difference in how refreshed they feel when waking up once they've implemented this caffeine curfew. Next, you might find a more balanced mood and energy level throughout your day. Without the late day caffeine disrupting your sleep, then your body's natural rhythms can do their job more effectively, and you might find yourself less reliant on caffeine as your overall energy levels and mood starts to improve. There's also the potential for better long-term health outcomes. Consistently good sleep is linked to a lower risk of various chronic diseases, improved mental health, and even better cognitive function. So by improving your sleep with a caffeine curfew, you're basically investing in a long-term program for health and well-being. And let's not forget the mental clarity and focus that comes with getting better sleep. Because when your brain is well rested, you're likely to find yourself more productive, more sharp during the day. So I want you to consider the power you have to improve your sleep, and by extension, your overall health. A caffeine curfew is simple, very easy. Just quit drinking it after 3 p.m. Yet it's a profoundly effective tool. It's about respecting your body's natural rhythms and giving yourself the best chance for a restorative, life-enhancing sleep. Now, we want to get into some of the challenges that you might face with implementing a caffeine curfew and how to overcome them. Because you've decided, yes, I'm going to do this caffeine curfew. I'm going to do this and improve my sleep. And that's fantastic. However, with any change in habit, you might encounter some challenges. So let's discuss some of these potential obstacles and some practical solutions to overcome them. Challenge number 1, you have what is known as the afternoon slump. Yes, many of us experience a natural dip in energy in the afternoon. So it's easy to reach for a caffeinated beverage to power through this slump, but doing so can disrupt your sleep later on. So what's the solution? Well, you should try some alternative ways to re-energize, such as a brisk walk. What? Brandon, a brisk walk? I don't feel like I have any energy. Why are you asking me to use energy? Well, it's amazing how doing what you don't think you should do actually works. I don't understand this, to be honest with you. But when I have had issues, I got hit by a drunk driver many, many years ago. And also when I taught at a private high school way, way, way long ago, one day, even though I was in my 20s, I decided, hey, I can help lift this baby grand piano and move it into the auditorium where students are assembling, and really hurt my lower back. And I've had to go to physical therapy sometimes. And the physical therapist has always told me, your problem is that when it starts hurting, you quit doing stuff. You quit moving, you become stationary because it hurts and you don't want it to hurt. So you're just trying to stay still. And actually the opposite is true. You should be moving your muscles. You should be stretching. You should be bending over. And I bend over and it hurts. Okay, well, do it again and do it again and do it again. And eventually your muscle starts relaxing. It's in the use of it that it actually happens. So if you don't have energy, doing a brisk walk when you don't feel like you have any energy, I would probably bet you that you'll find that you feel better, that you feel like you have more energy doing something that you didn't feel like you had energy doing in the first place. And you can also do other things. You can do a short session of stretching. You can even do a few minutes of deep breathing to invigorate your body and your mind without impacting your sleep. A walk and stretching and deep breathing are not going to affect your sleep like that caffeinated beverage will. You could also consider a light, healthy snack that includes some protein, some complex carbohydrates, not Doritos from the local vending machine or stuff like that. Things that are good for your body, as natural as possible, that are going to fuel your body. Challenge number 2, social and work engagements. So coffee meetings or after-work gatherings often revolve around beverages that contain caffeine, like coffee or certain sodas. So one solution is to opt for caffeine-free alternatives. Most coffee shops do offer herbal teas or decaffeinated options. So if you're at a gathering, sparkling water with a slice of lemon. If you have to drink a carbonated beverage, soda, then maybe something like a Sprite or 7-Up that doesn't have caffeine in it can be a refreshing choice. Being open about your caffeine curfew can also encourage others to maybe support your choice. Challenge number 3, the habitual nature of caffeine consumptions. So for many of us, A cup of coffee or tea is more than just a drink. It's a deeply ingrained ritual. Honestly, if we're honest, caffeine is a type of drug. It is. It affects our mood. It affects a lot of stuff about us. Well, we've got to stick with it. We've got to replace the ritual with a new, healthier ritual, a healthier habit. So if you enjoy the act of taking a break with a hot beverage, then again, switch to an herbal tea or a warm milk-based drink without caffeine. The key is to maintain this ritual, but remove the caffeine. And in addition to what we just said, this fourth challenge is the withdrawal symptoms. For some of us, if we cut back on caffeine, we're going to have, especially if you've been a very heavy consumer, you're going to probably experience some withdrawal symptoms like headaches, irritability, or drowsiness. So a solution is to, one, taper down slowly. So instead of going cold turkey, maybe gradually reduce your caffeine intake over a few weeks. Like I said, if you're used to drinking a cup of coffee at 6 or 7 p.m. at night, then cut it back to 5:30 or to 5 o'clock. Do that for a week or two, and then cut it back until you can finally get into more of that magic area, maybe of like 2 or 3 o'clock, if you're going to bed, say, at 10 p.m. at night. This can help your body adjust more smoothly and reduce withdrawal symptoms. I find that when I have these headaches and I'm getting used to less caffeine, that just drinking a big glass of water helps, and I get a benefit out of that. It's strange that it actually works for me. It doesn't always eliminate a headache completely, but it can help a lot that I'm taking in something. It's like my body says, oh, I'm drinking coffee again, but then it finds out it's not coffee, but, kind of fake it out a little bit. Just remember that the goal of caffeine curfew is not to make your life miserable. I'm not saying to get off coffee. I'm not saying to get off tea. I'm not saying to get off caffeine. I'm just saying limit it. I'm saying be careful about taking it in too late in the day. I'm saying to enhance the quality of your sleep and as a result, the quality of your life, to consider doing this. It's about making a conscious decision to honor your body's needs and to respecting the natural rhythms that basically govern our health and our well-being. I encourage you to approach these challenges with a problem-solving mindset. Be creative, be patient, but most importantly, be kind to yourself as you navigate this challenge, because better sleep and improved health are worth the effort. So as we come to the end of today's episode on setting a caffeine curfew for better sleep, I want to take a moment to reflect on what we've covered and encourage you to take some actionable steps toward improving your sleep and consequently your life. So we've explored the stimulating world of caffeine. We've understood how it affects your sleep, why it's essential to enjoy it responsibly. We've delved into the concept of a caffeine curfew. We've uncovered the myriad benefits that come with this simple yet powerful practice. And we've also navigated through some potential challenges that you might face and offered some solutions to help you stay on track. Now, I'm turning the microphone over to you. It's your turn to take action, and I challenge you to set your own caffeine curfew for next week. Choose a cutoff time that works for you, perhaps 6 hours before your usual bedtime, and commit to it. Pay attention to how you feel each morning, not just the first day. You got to do this for at least a week, maybe 2 weeks, then see how you feel. You might feel it right away. If you do, then great for you. A lot of us, it might take several days or several weeks, but then see how you feel. Note any changes in how you feel when you wake up. Your sleep quality, your energy levels, your mood, your overall well-being. Remember that this is not about perfection. It's about making a conscious effort to improve your sleep and your health. If you slip up or you face a challenge, don't be discouraged. Each day is a new opportunity to try again. Oh, so yes, you drank a cup of coffee at 6 p.m. and you didn't sleep very good. Well, okay, then don't do it the next day. Don't beat up on yourself. Don't throw in the towel and just say, well, it doesn't matter. No, try it. Each day is a new opportunity to get closer to your goal. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want to just thank you for joining me on this journey towards sleeping smarter. Your willingness to learn and adapt is what makes this journey so rewarding. I encourage you to share your experiences with the caffeine curfew on our social media platforms, which you might wonder, what are those? I say this often, but if you go to my Facebook page, which is First Things Productivity, just search for that. You can find and you can contact me. You can comment on things. I also have a YouTube channel, which is That Tie-Dye Guy. And you can find an episode on this very topic on caffeine curfew, but more like 5 to 10 minutes instead of nearly 30 minutes. I'll often say on the YouTube, hey, if you want a deeper dive, go check out the podcast. I do these separately because this is more of a conversation. We get a lot more into the weeds, a lot more into the details. YouTube is kind of quick and easy, but you can go there and you can comment there as well. You can also email me directly at me@firstthingsproductivity.com. Your stories and insights help inspire other people. So I would encourage you to engage and to leave comments, to send me information, but to comment on the YouTube channel or comment on Facebook. Now, looking ahead, our next episode is going to focus on another essential strategy for smarter sleep. So be sure to tune in. If you haven't gotten the book, you should go get it. Help support the author who's done a great job. I love this topic. I think it's great to remember all this time. Remember that every step you take towards a better sleep is a step towards a healthier, happier, more productive you, more productive life. Also remember that things that we share, not everything will work for you. There will be some things that work better for you, some things that don't work as good, and the things that work better for you don't work better for your significant other, your spouse, your children. It's weird how some of these things affect us differently. So for you, you might have to cut back caffeine by noon every day in order for you to finally see an effect, where your spouse, maybe it's 3 o'clock, or vice versa. So thank you for listening to episode 154, First Things. This is Dr. Brandon Vaughn again, wishing you a good night, sweet dreams, and of course, smarter sleep. And don't forget, if you found value in today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast. Please leave a review. Please share it with your friends and family. Your support helps us continue to bring this content that transforms people's lives, and this is what it's all about. This is all I care about. Don't care about making money. Don't care about being famous. I just care about helping people, and I hope this has helped you today. Go put it in practice. Let me know how it's going. Sweet dreams, everyone, and I will see you next week.